Hello. Howdy, Robert. If you would like, go ahead and introduce yourself and what you're running for.
Yes, my name is Robert Jefferson Archer III, and I am running for the City of Denton Council, District 2 um, seat.
Right on, right on. Well, we have our questions today on public transit and housing, so we'll go ahead and get started. Question number one, what is your experience with using public transit? Have you used things like GoZone, Connect buses, or the A train?
So I personally have not. I do not have personal experience myself or my sister-in-law mainly, but none myself.
Right on, right on. Let's see. Question number two. Accessibility is a big issue in public transit. How do you plan to work with DCTA to address things like lack of safe sidewalks, unprotected bus stops, and low route coverage?
So as far as that, some of that is not just DCTA, it's City of Denton as well, 100%. So the safe sidewalks and the bus stops um, most definitely need severe attention. With growth happening between residential and commercial, that should be something that is put into zoning policies, is to upgrade sidewalks as well as transportation stops. Um, and so working directly with DCTA, of course, would to reevaluate the current system they have going on with the Go Zone, and look at where is the need really at by using the data that we've already obtained. But yes, most definitely it is it's a combined issue between the city as well as DCTA.
Of course, right on. Let's see. Question number three. Question number three. Dentonites have said that GoZone is inefficient, unreliable, and uncomfortable. How does GoZone factor into your plans to improve public transit?
So short and sweet, it needs to go. Um, so again, I have no personal experience except for being a driver and seeing some of the illegal aspects of driving, unsafe driving conditions by the Go Zone platforms. Now, the experience I talked about, my sister-in-law, she did utilize Go Zone. Now she has to utilize Uber because they're a one vehicle family. She's got to get her child to school. So because of the unreliability of getting Go Zone to be able to get her child to school safely, it has now put a burden on them to pay for Uber. So um, most definitely that is something that needs to go. We need to bring back the bus routes where it's a consistent route. Um, you know, yes. So that is most definitely something that brings concern not only for safety but just for reliability.
Right on, right on. Let's see here. Question number four. We're moving on to our housing questions. Um, do you have any plans to expand resources for our unhoused population?
So um, yes and no, right? So as far as the city led, right, the city needs to take a more proactive approach in ownership of the homeless. So what I've evaluated just by the research I've done, that the approach is left to the outside entities such as the county, since we are the hub for the county. So the city kind of needs to take a stance and take ownership for our homeless community, and quit letting outside dictators decide how we're going to help the unhoused. Um, Now, some of the proactive stuff that I've been looking at the last couple of days that the city could do, um, because there's hundreds and hundreds of nonprofit organizations within our city. And I've just been curious, and been trying to find some of the sources, and it is almost impossible to find different nonprofit organizations within our community that help with certain items. And so I believe, again, the city should take ownership. Why not require registration if you're a 401(c) nonprofit organization registered with the city? The city have a database on their website where it's listed under categories of services that will help. Thus, the city's taken a stance on the ownership to be able to get the information out to the general public, or the homeless community without outright utilizing tax money for that. Um, so yes, most definitely I'm a firm believer that, we need to take ownership of it, and we need to quit letting outside community or state influence how we're going to contribute, overall for our unhoused.
Right on. And then question number 5. Um, Rent continues to increase to absurd levels here in Denton. How would you address this issue?
Oh, well, that's so the rent deal is kind of some of that influence is outside of the city control, just 100%. It's the market, it's the economy. But the apartments, and we could talk about building more apartments, but we have more than enough housing in Denton at this time. It is just, there was rubber stamped long ago, when there was a shortage. Now we have a plethora of housing. But there are some things that, as incentives that the city can do in order to, help these apartment complexes buy into programs for assistance, for lower and medium income housing, which, what I'm realizing is a lot of these apartment complexes refuse to get into it because there's too many hoops to jump through. So, unfortunately, yes, we need the tax rate, but it's putting much more of a tax burden on people by not incentivizing, um, these housing developments. Another aspect is, also look at all the city-owned property, right? What can be utilized, what partnerships. A big thing to address housing as well is utilizing our resources in the city itself, right? We have a lot of assets. We're our own, self-governing system, right? We have our own electric, our own trash, our own water. We're self-sustained city. So that can be attracted to bring businesses into our community that actually pay people livable wages. So, it's kind of a combination thing, but a city approach, of course, you have to start somewhere. I don't feel like it's been started. We address the housing, so we have a plethora of housing options, but it's privatized. There's no monetization in order to incentivize people, and the big businesses that actually pay are building outside of our community and not directly contributing to our community.
I love that. That's a good one. Let's see here. I'm looking at our list, and it looks like our last question is a cost of living question. So, to close us out, question number 6. People in Denton struggle to afford costs of living such as transportation, housing, groceries, etc. What do you hope to see the city do to make living here more affordable?
Well, I mean, that kind of combines all the questions, right? Which I love the way you ask those questions, right? It's kind of a combination of all. If we fixed our transportation issue by giving standard routes, people would be able to, uh, commute back and forth to job and get there on time because there's a set route versus, uh, the options that are right now. Um, the step number 2, like I said, is to incentivize companies to actually come here. We have the land base, we have the labor force, we have the city of Denton is a hub for the federal, state, and county. So we need to utilize those resources as a strengthen, and it totally can be done. But we have to demand a seat at the table with those entities, be able to help those decisions. So again, if we're able to incentivize and bring businesses here that actually give livable wages, that would help also drive down some of the rent costs. Um, and then of course, I do believe in accountability for property owners. I am a believer of inspections, right? And stuff like that for accountability for property owners, not to say that cost isn't going to be driven on to the rent payers, but ultimately it's all about, we want to make sure what we're paying for we're getting. And so, it's just, it's it's all a hot mess right now, needless to say. So there's several little things that need to happen in order to bring it back and strengthen the overall aspects of things. I talk about we can bring businesses here, fix the transportation, and when we talk about the homeless community, right? bringing all the different resources where people can find it at one central location, because there's nonprofit organizations that help with bus passes. There's nonprofit organizations that help with gas bills. There's nonprofit organizations that help, I mean, with a plethora of different things. Um, but trying to find those sources are just, it's insane. I've tried to look here the last couple of days, and it's just, it, it's, it's not streamlined, it's not efficient, and so that's part of it, is just let's streamline things, let's narrow it down, and you know keep it short and sweet, right?
Right on. I love that. Thank you for sharing your ideas of what Denton could be. Let's see
No, thank
here.
you for your time.
Of course. Um, is there any last things you want to say? Where can people find you or information about your campaign, stuff like that?
Well, so my campaign, I'm focused on, zero money, right? I'm trying to show proof that you can do a lot with nothing, which is a lot of what our city needs to do right now, is do a lot with little, to nothing. I have a Facebook page. It's Robert J. Archer third, for the city of Denton, District 2. And it has all my contact, my phone number, and my email to contact. So I mean, I'm always open to conversations or questions. But that's how to contact me directly. Um, and as far as uh, my biggest focus also, like I said, is do a lot with little. My biggest focus is we need to start talking. I want neighbors to talk to each other, right? And I think that's a big focus of my campaign too. Is I can be the silent guy without bombarding you with flyers and signs and phone calls and texts. And I can be that guy that can come in and do a lot with little, and it's all based on people talking and neighbors being neighbors.
I love that so much. Well, thank you. And I can try to make sure I link your Facebook page wherever we end up posting a lot of these videos, and that
No,
way
thank
people
you.
can find you. But thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate you.